So I don't think that in-person conferences are going to happen anytime in 2021. In fact, I don't think conferences will happen until the first or second quarter of 2022. Now, last year when conferences were canceled, a lot of B2B marketers and companies panicked. They scrambled because suddenly this vehicle that they had invested a lot of money in no longer was possible. So they spent a lot of money attending, sponsoring, and speaking at conferences so that they could attract, engage, and nurture prospects and connect with their customers. And those opportunities no longer existed. So what did they do? Well, they jumped into social media, they played around with virtual conferences, and they produced a lot of content, ostensibly to produce high quality content. Some of it was a hit and some of it was a miss. So as we enter 2021, there's no surprises for B2B marketers. They know exactly what they're dealing with. Conferences aren't happening, so that tool is off the table. So what do they do instead? Well, one is they look to better leverage virtual events. Last year, some did it very well, like Narrative Science, and many companies failed. The conferences were not interesting, engaging, or interactive. So if you're a B2B company, you need to think of a better, improved way to take advantage of virtual events, because that's what you've got to reach out and connect with prospects and customers. Number two is content. It's easy to produce content. It's hard to produce content that engages, educates, and encourages, and it's high quality content. And content can appear in different forms. It can be long form, it can be micro content, can be content produced at velocity, but nevertheless, it's content that has to deliver insight and value. And the final piece of the puzzle, at least I think the final piece of the puzzle, is leveraging different platforms. So one example is TikTok. A lot of B2B marketers blew off TikTok as a place for teenagers and dance videos, but now it's emerging as a more interesting place for businesses. So as a marketer, you have to figure out, so how do I embrace TikTok? What's the value that I can deliver to my customers who are trying to figure out how they leverage short videos? Clubhouse is another really interesting platform where you have audio discussion. So is there a way to build thought leadership, engagement, and connections via that platform? And then there are other platforms like Snapchat and Pinterest and Quora and Reddit that maybe a lot of B2B marketers haven't leveraged to the full extent before because they haven't needed to. But when you take conferences off the table, then they're going to have to take advantage of other channels. And so it's worth it to experiment and to look at different channels. And so I would say that 2021 is the year of taking new approaches, experimenting, and seeing what works, because the same recipe isn't available. Now, maybe they'll come back in 2022, but in the meantime, you got a job to do, you've got conversations to have, you've got leads to generate, and you've got sales to make.